My girlfriend's wealthy parents disliked me before we ever met. On my first drive to their mansion, I stopped to help an elderly woman whose vintage Rolls-Royce had broken down on the roadside. By the time I arrived, I was over an hour late, smeared with grease, fully expecting to be thrown out on sight. What I didn't know was that the woman I'd helped would soon arrive right behind me. The drive to the Prescott estate felt unreal, like crossing into another world. Sophia's voice echoed in my mind, tense and urgent. Don't say you own a garage. Say you work in automotive management. If they notice your hands, tell them you do woodworking. Please, Mark, just play along. I had scrubbed my hands raw, but the faint stains under my fingernails refused to disappear. Permanent proof of the life I lived. I was a mechanic and I was proud of it. To Richard and Eleanor Prescott, though, that made me unacceptable. I spotted the car on the shoulder two-tone 1960 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud. Silent and dignified, beside it stood an elderly woman, draped in pearls, looking irritated yet regal. Car trouble, ma'am? I asked as I pulled over. It's making a dreadful clunking sound, she replied, her voice crisp and refined. One look under the hood and I forgot the time completely. A frayed distributor wire, that was all. I stripped it, reconnected the lead, wrapped it tight with tape. My suit was ruined and my hands blackened, but when the V12 purred back to life, her smile made it worth every second. You're a miracle worker, she said warmly. How can I repay you? I told her just seeing the car run again was enough. I didn't realize then that helping her would change everything. When I finally pulled my old pickup into the Prescott driveway, I was 70 minutes late. The mansion loomed like a glowing fortress built to judge me. Sophia opened the door, her face frozen in shock. Mark, what happened? She whispered, staring at my grease-stained sleeves. Before I could answer, Richard and Eleanor appeared. Richard was tall and sharp, his silver hair matching the cold look in his eyes. Eleanor stared at me with open disgust. So, Richard said slowly, this is the mechanic. I apologized and tried to explain, but he cut me off. Punctuality is respect, he said coldly. You failed at that. It's best you leave before you ruin the furniture. I turned to go. My future was Sophia slipping away. When the low rumble of an engine filled the air, the silver Rolls-Royce pulled in behind my truck. The driver stepped out, followed by the woman in pearls. The mood shifted instantly. Richard and Eleanor went pale. Mother, Eleanor gasped. Matilda Prescott ignored her and studied the semi-stained hands, their cruel expressions. Richard, Eleanor, she said firmly, this young man spent an hour in the rain fixing my car while your dependable driver was nowhere to be found. And you would throw him out for the very qualities this family seems to have lost: skill, honesty, and character. The dinner that followed felt like justice served course by course. Matilda insisted I sit at her right, the place of honor Richard had wanted his entire life. As the roasted duck was served, she gave her children no attention at all, focusing entirely on me. The silver cloud is temperamental, she said, ignoring Richard's attempts to steer the conversation toward investments. How do you keep steady pressure in the fuel pump? When I answered, I didn't pretend anymore. I spoke openly about machines, their feel, their balance, the pride of shaping parts by hand and doing honest work. I wasn't a manager, I was a craftsman. Matilda listened with real interest, while Richard and Eleanor sat silent and humiliated. Mark builds things, she said coolly, glancing at her son. That seems to be a rare trait in this house. When coffee arrived, she delivered the final surprise. She explained that her late husband's priceless car collection had sat untouched in the West Garage for 20 years because no one cared enough to maintain it. I believe I found the right man to look after it, she said, smiling at me. We'll discuss your salary tomorrow. It will be generous. Richard looked stunned. The mechanic they tried to throw out had just become the guardian of the family's legacy. The months after that changed everything. Sophia and I were married in a beautiful ceremony, and though my in-laws' smiles were forced, they were always polite. Matilda made sure of it. I spent my days in the West Garage, surrounded by history, doing the work I loved without pretending to be anyone else. Matilda even insisted my in-laws visit often, watching me work with oil-stained hands, her quiet way of reminding them who truly mattered. One evening, Sophia and I drove a restored 1965 Jaguar E-Type as the sun set over the hills. I thought back to that first terrifying night, when I almost hid who I was to earn their approval. In the end, it was a simple act of kindness, stopping to help a stranger, that gave me everything. I wasn't accepted despite being a mechanic. I was welcome because of it. By staying true to myself, I gained not only respect, but a new family. Grease stains and all,